My favorite character is Dexter Dupree! Air horn, air horn, air horn! Dexter Dupree, editor of a cool car magazine. He's a real author and a real writer.
Crushing kids' dreams.
He's taken Mrs. Tifton to Europe. He's never getting divorced. Dexter Dupree. Air horn, air horn, air horn. Hello, welcome back to Nostalgia Club. We are three sound designers / friends who...
Order of priority.
And this is a show where we read or listen or watch media that we consumed as children, and then we talk about it right now, and we're like, hey, wasn't that neat? And we tell stories and stuff. And thanks for listening. My name is Jino, and I'm here with...
Victoria.
And Michael.
And today is our follow-up episode to the Penderwicks. If you don't know what that is, you should go listen to our first Penderwicks episode. It's a series of 5 books about a family that's sort of inspired by Little Women. And it's really, really wonderful. It's a coming-of-age story. It talks about a lot of different themes like growing up and responsibility and blended families and death. And it's one of my personal favorite book series of all time. And I highly recommend anyone who likes that sort of slice of life, growing up, running around, doing shenanigans type of stories to check it out. Today, we're going to be reviewing books 2 through 5. So the rest of the series.
In one fell swoop.
In one fell swoop. So again, if you haven't listened to our first Penderwicks episode or read the Penderwicks at all, hey, you should go do that. And then come right back.
Yeah.
Go to your local library. They probably have it. Except for the book 5. Hey, why is that so hard to find?
These books are actually much harder to find than you would expect.
Yeah. Dear libraries, please put book 5 into circulation. Sincerely
please
me.
put more copies of book 5 specifically. I have been looking forward to this for the whole summer, I think. Yeah. Basically,
That's
right
sort of
after...
on theme.
Yeah. After we did our first Penderwicks episode where we just read book 1, I went and just over the course of 2 weeks hunted down every last Penderwicks book and read the whole thing.
I hunted down every last Penderwick.
No, like legitimately, I was like, I put it on hold in every format I possibly could. So I ended up reading 2 ebooks, 1 physical book, and then I audiobooked the last one, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, I do think that my audiobook listening experience maybe affected how I interpreted the last book.
Interesting, because I've never listened to any of the audiobooks for the Penderwicks.
They're fun.
Do they do like voices for the different characters?
They're not super distinct voices, but the narrator does change the inflection of her voice depending on which sister is talking. So you can
cool.
Once you've listened for a little bit, you can start to tell like, oh, this is a Sky line versus a Batty line and whatnot.
Wow.
Nice.
That's impressive. I'm always so impressed when that happens with audiobooks.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice narration style. Oh, I don't even know how to describe it, but maybe it feels a little bit more whimsical. The way that this narrator reads it, and it feels like you're being read a story by your parent. Maybe that's part of it.
That's really nice. Very, very quick summary, in case you haven't gone back and listened to our first episode. Hey, what are you doing here? Penderwicks is about a group of 4 sisters, Batty, Jane, Sky, and Rosalind. Haha, I got them. And their dad, Martin Penderwick. And it just sort of takes them from, over the course of like 7 years. There's a timeline. I got to look this up, but there's a timeline that someone figured out on Reddit. But when the first book starts, Batty is 5?
Yeah.
And the last book, Batty's 19. So that's sort of the time frame we go through. And so we're going to be picking up, book 2 is like directly after book 1. So they're still around the same age. Book 5, Batty's 19. There's weddings and stuff. Everyone's grown up. It's very nostalgic and tragic. Not tragic. It's like tragic in
It
how
makes you
time...
think about the progression of life.
Yeah, how time marches forward and we can never go back. But also it reminds us that there will always be adventure and there will always be kids running around and causing problems and it's going to be okay. Michael, how did you feel reading the next 4 books of the Penderwick series?
This is a perfect book series.
Hooray!
This is every single book, every single line. Like, okay, so last week last week I got a message on Discord that was like, let's record next Friday. And I was like, I had just spent basically the last several weeks slow rolling my way through book 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was very nice. When I had the opportunity, I get some coffee and I go sit and I open up book number 2 of the Penderwicks on Gardam Street. And I'd read a couple chapters and I'd be like, very nice. And then I close the book. And
It's just so funny compared to my experience where I was like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read this book, and I have to finish it because I need to know what happens. And I need to get the next book immediately, which I then forced you into.
Well, I'm not surprised, Victoria, who like casually devoured the entire Nancy Drew canon just as a matter of course while going through like just elementary school.
Yep.
And like so much so that you didn't even remember exactly when you did it.
It's been a while since a series has had such a chokehold on me. If it were a TV show, I would have binged that whole thing in like a week. But because I had to wait for it to be available at the library and whatnot, then I was like, I have to wait. And I can't look up anything about it because I don't want to get spoiled. But I really want to know what happens at the end. So... Anyway, sorry I interrupted.
No, you were voracious in a way that makes sense for a prolific reader. I think, a different kind of voracious. I was like, I'm just going to marinate. I'm just going to let this last.
Yeah.
And honestly, the way the prose is written kind of, at least as I tried to speed read in the wake of getting the announcement, we're recording next week, I was like, I got to read 3 books. I got to read them fast. But I couldn't read them fast. And I frankly, I didn't have to read them fast because, you know, they're still like aimed at ages like 8 through 12.
Yeah.
And so I could read them at like a moderate pace without like running out of time or anything. But the way the prose is written sort of like demands that you like take a little bit. And because it's what do you call it? Is prosaic the right word? That seems almost a little too hilariously on the nose given I'm talking about prose. But there's a very much storytelling quality to it.
It asks you to slow down.
Yeah.
And just marinate. Consider the text. Consider the feeling of the chapter you're in right now.
Yeah, every sentence kind of leads into the next one in a way that sort of asks you to take your time with it. And I was still able to do so even in the last week, going through books 3 through 5. And every single line, both of narration and like dialogue, every single scene, every single plot arc, and just like the feeling of each book as they mature in some ways and reward, you know, readers from the earlier versions with added details on characters whose perspectives you're not seeing through anymore because they've gotten older, but you're still privy to everything that's going on. It's a perfect book series. If we had the meme of the horse illustration where like each slice of the horse is like a different book or whatever, it'd be the perfectly illustrated horse the whole way through. That's my experience.
You heard it here first. The Penderwicks is a perfectly illustrated horse.
Victoria, did you have the definition?
Yeah, I looked up prosaic, and it's a characteristic of prose as distinguished from poetry. So it's basically like the opposite of poetry, meaning it's more factual. But then the secondary definition is dull and unimaginative.
Well, that's...
So perhaps not the correct definition, but I understand what you're meaning.
It'd be something, yeah. The prose was very prose-like.
No, literally that's the definition of the word. It's like, it was prose.
I was actually going for the opposite then. That's my bad. It has a poetry aspect to it. It has a lyrical quality.
But it's not superfluous. Is that the right word?
Superfluous?
Superfluous. I've never said the word out loud before. We're learning something new today.
You were also maybe thinking of supercilious, which I don't know the definition of. I'm in a really perilous situation knowing words and not their definitions.
Actually, every time because we do this often in our show, and the amount of times I've been editing and had to look up a word to make sure that either we use the correct definition or we have to record something additional to fix it in post. Supercilious, coolly and patronizingly haughty.
Nope, not that one. Superfluous? It's not...
Superfluous, I think, is excessive.
Yeah, it doesn't go around and around itself. It's not that kind of poetry.
Yeah.
It's poetry as in it sort of just carries you along the story. It's like a nice gentle breeze.
Yeah.
Or a warm cup of coffee.
Perfect for setting you in that environment of those halcyon days of youth.
Yeah. Dear listener, if I could pitch to you one more time to read these books. They are, yes, written by Jeanne Birdsall, amazing author, and also noted photographer. for a younger audience. And they are about primarily a group of sisters. So if you don't fit that specific demographic, you may be like, why do I want to read these books? There is a very specific feeling that you get reading all 5 of these books in conjunction that I've not gotten anywhere else. Me specifically, I'm sure maybe Victoria and Michael, you've found this feeling other places, but this sort of almost, it's not existential, but there is sort of
I think it very much is.
There's the sort of like capturing the feeling of moving through time and watching it change around you and the almost helplessness of that. Like being a parent watching your children grow up, especially like reading it as an adult. And also the prose, not only is it poetic, but it captures the feeling of going from a timeless place to a timely place. And I think we talked about this a little bit in the first episode. The first Penderwicks book could happen anywhere, anytime. I mean, of course, they're very specific. It happens in Massachusetts, but it could happen anytime. And the last Penderwick book happens very specifically in 2019. And as you read, that slowly becomes more into focus. The concrete blocks of where and when they are become built into the story until finally you're like trapped in this very specific time. And it feels like, oh no, I'm an adult now. And yet the whole point of the 5th book is like, there's still so much magic and childhood whimsy out there. And like, even if you're moving on, the world is still creating these moments for people. And so it's okay. It's okay to keep going. And also like, just because you've grown up doesn't mean it's all doom and gloom and taxes here on it. There's still amazing things happening in your future, and you don't have to go back. It says a lot. There's a lot that's happening.
There's a lot of love. And I think existential is a proper word. A lot of people will use it, especially over the internet in today's day and age, in like a negative context.
But this is it's a positive existentialism.
Yeah.
Just like nihilism isn't inherently negative. Existentialism is not inherently negative, and I'm not using those terms correctly at all.
Well, I think you're in the pocket, more or
trying.
less. I think people understand. I understand. Whoever's listening, I'm sure understands. Hello?
Thanks, Michael.
Who's listening?
Hello? Mom? Do you have any more series thoughts, Victoria? Any vibes?
One thing I did want to note is usually when I read books for Nostalgia Club, I take pretty detailed notes as I'm reading or watching so that I can pull up like specific thoughts or emotions I felt while reading. This time I actually didn't. Like I looked today and I was like, oh, I took no notes.
Because you were living in the story.
I was living in the story. I was so invested. So forgive me if I'm a little fuzzy on the details of these books because I also read them a few weeks ago. But I love these characters. Like I got so invested in this family. 3 made me tear up. 4 made me cry. Like for real. And
4 is a tearjerker. 4
Yeah,
is heavy.
I'm just so excited to talk about it with you guys.
So do we want to go one book at a time, or do we want to do a quick like overall summary and then just talk about the whole thing at once?
That's hard. Because it's like, where do we even start with either strategy?
Maybe just a quick 4-book summary.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into the second book. And then if we need to jump around, we'll do it.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, just to give the listeners a little bit of context before we just go off the rails, as we often do.
Okay.
And we will accomplish this.
We will.
There are many episodes where we do not accomplish this.
Buckle in, listener, for the next 7 hours as we meticulously dissect the characters of the Penderwicks. Okay, I'm going to try. So each book focuses on a specific time frame within the Penderwicks' lives, and they also have generally like 1 or 2 main themes that aren't always super clear. The themes aren't like stated outright at the beginning of the book. They kind of like ebb and flow throughout. Like an A plot will slowly like conclude as a B plot is ramping up. So the second book, On Gardam Street, is mainly about Martin Penderwick, the Penderwick's father, who lost his wife several years ago, gets a letter delivered to him, written by his wife via his sister, that says, please don't wallow in your grief and loneliness forever. Please go date and move on with your life and be happy. And he is understandably incredibly distraught by this, as are his children. And so the 4 Penderwick sisters conspire to organize bad dates for him. So he gives up. And
It's actually really funny.
The Save Daddy plan to organize bad dates for him. So he gives up, and they never have to have a stepmother because they've had bad experiences with stepmothers, specifically in the first Penderwick book with Mrs. Tifton, or step-parents, I should say.
Yeah,
In
with
the first-
Dexter Dupree, who, by the way, Mrs. Tifton has already divorced Mr. Dupree by book 3.
One of the most realistic
Book 4.
parts.
Book 4?
Yeah, because he shows up at the end of book 3.
Yeah. because he goes to drive Jeffrey back.
Oh, right, yeah.
But books
it's
1
just
through
really
3,
funny, like how quickly he's out of the picture.
And yet he's immortalized.
Because books 1 through 3 happen in the span of like less than a year.
Yeah.
So it really is a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly realistic. That relationship was never going to work. So that's the main A plot of On Gardam Street. But there's also a subplot. Every sister has their own sort of arc. So Sky and Jane are both on the soccer team, and they're both very good, but Sky has like anger management issues, and she keeps trying to like kill the other girls. So this one girl specifically. Also, she's been assigned to write a play. She hates plays. She loves math. So she and Jane swap assignments. Jane writes Sky's play. Jane loves theater. And so Sky's play gets chosen to be performed in front of the entire school. And Sky gets cast as the main character because they're like, okay, yeah, you wrote the play. Of course you should be the main character. And Sky's like, I'm going to die.
Sky's like, this is actually my worst nightmare.
Yeah, this is my hell.
Yeah.
And then Jane, on the other hand, is sort of like warbling between like extreme pride of like, I wrote something and it's getting recognized, and now my sister gets to perform it and I really want her to succeed. And also, I wrote something and I'm not getting recognized at all, and I really want to perform in my sister's place. But she's a good sister, so she helps. And then that's sort of resolved in the end by Sky literally passing out. And then Jane's like, I'll do it. And then she does it, and it's great.
Sky passes out and the teachers are like, what are we going to do? Our lead can't perform. Who else can? We don't have an understudy. Who else can take her place? And Jane's like, I happen to know all of the lines.
Yes.
And all of the nuance and subtext.
It's like I wrote it. Oh, who could have done that? The like surface theme of book 2, I would say, is like dealing with change. But then under that, it's more specifically putting yourself in really uncomfortable positions that you don't necessarily want to be in, but that are important for you.
That's true.
Underneath that, it's just lying. It's about gaslighting. It's about lying to your kids, lying to your dad.
Martin Penderwick lies too.
Lying to yourself.
They're all lying to each other.
And it's a big Rosalind book, too. It's the last time we get Rosalind's POV.
Yeah, and it's her struggling because she's basically been a mother figure for the sisters.
Yeah.
She's basically taken on that role in the household. And she's grappling with the idea that she's going to be not in that position anymore. And more specifically, she's grappling with the idea of like losing her mother, quote unquote. Because up until this point, like, even though her mother is gone, she's still a huge part of their lives. She like has a photo by her bed. She feels betrayed that her mother is asking her father to move on. And so she's grappling with this like, again, existential like realization that like
life is going to keep going.
Life keeps going. I can't hold on to this forever. My mom doesn't want me to hold on to this forever, but I want to hold on to my mom. And so that's a big moment. Batty's a baby. Oh, is that Bugman?
Bugman.
Okay, wait. Sorry.
Wow, Victoria's thoughts on Bugman.
Because most of the book is like pretty innocuous.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're just living their lives. Like, obviously, there's like tough stuff that they're going through as a family. But there is a lot of just like, you're a kid and you're going to school and like you have a crush on this boy and like that's kind of weird.
You got to do homework, get extracurriculars.
You have to do homework. Yeah. Batty is always in peril, as we discussed in the first episode. In the first episode, she like almost dies by getting killed by a bull, and then she like runs away and almost gets lost
in the woods.
Anyways, in this book, she like notices that there's like just like a weird guy hanging around, and she tries to tell her sisters like, there's this guy who's always like watching me. And I call him Bugman because he has like big glasses or something.
Yeah, he looks like a bug.
At first I was like, it's probably fine.
Probably just a funny misunderstanding.
Yeah, I was like, it's probably going to be like, oh, it's not actually someone who has bad intent. I believe Batty. And I believe that there's this weird guy.
# I believe Batty.
But I was like, I don't think it would take like a dark turn. But then on Halloween, this guy like grabs her and she like screams and she's like, it was Bugman. And
Bugman dressed as Spock.
Yeah. And then I was like, what is going on? And then finally at the end, it's revealed, it's like, so they have this neighbor named Iantha. And Iantha is
astrophysicist.
She's an astrophysicist. And so she's writing this big paper, and apparently one of her colleagues is trying to steal her research. And so that's Bugman. Bugman is her colleague who's trying to break into her house to steal her work. But he actually does break in. Like, Rosalind finds him in Iantha's house. And Batty like screams because she's like, that's Bugman. And they're like, oh, you were talking about this guy? I don't know. I was just like, it's so creepy.
It was the most out of left field thing of that book.
She's like, I was just playing, and then I like looked, and there is just this weird guy in a car staring at me. And I was like, is Batty gonna get kidnapped? Anyways, I was really upset about Bugman. At first, I was like, okay, there's a weird guy, but surely it can't be what it actually seems like.
Truly
and then
not an actual Bugman.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, like, and it carries on throughout the entire book that, like, you sort of let your guard down a little bit, and then suddenly Bugman appears again, and you're like, oh my gosh.
It's okay. They take him down with the power of physical violence as the neighborhood boy, Tommy, tackles him to the ground and then sits on him until the cops arrive.
Yeah.
It is very Scooby-Doo.
It is very Scooby-Doo.
Because he's like, you kids. And he looks at Batty and he's like, you're all over the place. It was very strange.
It was
but
disconcerting. But at the end, it was okay. Like, Batty is fine.
You never feel like they're in actual danger. He's literally like
I don't know. I felt a little bit.
Well, inevitably.
The Halloween moment was when I was like, oh, things are getting actually real. Okay, if you're a kid...
I don't remember him grabbing Batty.
He doesn't grab but he goes up to her and like tries to talk to her. But it's
I thought she bumps into him.
She bumps into him and he like says something.
He's something like she...
But also she's like 6. So she's like, in her chapters, like it's always like kind of fuzzy what's happening.
Yeah.
Because she's just kind of like, and then I ran into someone and I looked and it was Bugman and he said something, but I wasn't really listening because I was so freaked out, which is so valid.
Mm-hmm. The Batty chapters do a really great job of making you feel like you're knee height.
Yeah.
Everything feels too big and you're really disoriented. And so when you're reading Batty chapters, you're like, I'm very small. And I'd like to go home.
Yeah.
You really do feel exposed when you're like outside of you're like, I'm on the street and I can't quite see over anything.
But Iantha is very cool.
Yes. Gardner Street concludes with Iantha, who's the next door neighbor and who's very, very clearly set up to be the new stepmother, like the new mother figure in the Penderwicks household. And that becomes clear about halfway through the book. You're like, oh, okay, Iantha's like kind of perfect for Martin Penderwick. And then the story becomes more about the kids need to figure it out and accept it. And then Martin needs to figure it out and accept it. And then Martin's not figuring it out or accepting it. So the kids need a new plan to trick him into spending time with her so he figures it out and accepts it. And they do that by like breaking his car. They remove the car battery, but that car comes back and it really is broken. And that's Gardner Street. And it's really wonderful and it's really concise and it's a really great follow-up to the first book because the first book is like, they're away on a magical adventure on a vacation mansion or whatever.
Oh, also important is Iantha has a son named Ben.
Oh, yeah.
And her husband died in a car crash before Ben was born. So Ben has never known his father.
Yeah, they really get into it in the later books. Like the difference between growing up having known your lost parent and growing up having not known your lost parent.
Yeah.
And like how different Ben and Batty's life is compared to Sky, Jane, and Rosalind. And Batty's sort of on that like cusp between these two groups to where like she still feels the pain, but she doesn't quite know why. And that's all book 4.
Yeah, because at least Ben, like, he doesn't have siblings. So there's no older sibling I mean, he has his mom, but there's no older sibling, like, missing the parent that's gone.
It's tough. Do one of you guys want to try doing book 3 or should I keep going? How do you say the title of book 3? How do you say the title of book 3, Michael?
Oh, I say Point Moot.
How do you say it?
I know this is wrong, but in my head, I always say Point Mouette.
Yeah, I don't know.
Point Mouty.
Point Mouty.
So in book 3, the adult Penderwicks are on their honeymoon.
Ben is going with...
Oh, Ben is going with them.
Because he's too young to not go with them.
I think they just leave him at home.
They put him in a box, and they put the box under the bed, and they're like, stay here, Ben.
They tell the cat, Iantha's cat, Asimov, they say, watch Ben.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Iantha has a cat, and he's cute. This family is getting really large. So anyways, so the adult Penderwicks and Ben are on their honeymoon, and Rosalind, for the first time, is going on a summer trip with her friends. So she's not going with the other Penderwick siblings to their vacation destination, which is Point Moot.
She's graduated out of the POV sections.
Yeah.
Much like a VTuber, she's graduated.
Oh, we do get one of her POVs at the very end of the book.
Yes, you get one at the beginning, one at the end. And it's sort of Jeanne Birdsall saying, goodbye to Rosalind.
Yeah. It is really important, though, because for the first time, Skye is the Ope, the oldest available Penderwick, and she hates it. She does not like the responsibility of being the Ope. And in particular, this summer, or this trip, just as can often happen just when you're a child, sometimes crazy things happen when you're on vacation. And Skye has to now be the responsible one who like helps her siblings and her friend through it. And she's like, I can't do it. Well, first of all, like Rosalind, in her role as the oldest sibling, she like knows Batty's routine the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like Batty is like her baby. So she's like telling Skye, like, you have to do this, this, and this. This is her bedtime routine. These are her favorite snacks. These are the clothes that she likes to wear. Here's her favorite stuffed animal, blah, blah, blah. And Skye is like, I will not remember this, so I'm going to write it down. But then it like gets wet. It gets water damage, so she doesn't have it. So she's like, everything is ruined because I don't have the list that Rosalind gave me. And I just am not ready for this. But they go to Point Moot. Oh, with their aunt, because their Aunt Claire, who is also in the second book, she's their chaperone for this trip. And while they're there, initially Jeffrey is supposed to go, but then there's like a kerfluffle where his mom didn't let him go, and they're like all sad about it. And they're like mad at Mrs. Tifton for not letting him go, but they're like, okay, we'll just like do our best. But then he ends up showing up because Mrs. Tifton changed her mind. Hooray!
And then you have to trade one good thing with one bad thing. So Aunt Claire like almost breaks her
Aunt Claire breaks her leg or breaks her foot.
It's like a bad sprain or something.
Yeah,
she
but
can't
she's
walk.
like on crutches and has to like sit down for most of the rest of the trip. Meanwhile, Jane is determined to
figure out what love is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because she's writing a new Sabrina Starr book, and she is like, I want her to have a love interest, but I've never experienced love myself. So she decides to go after this like skater boy.
The most cardboard boy you've ever met.
If Jeffrey is the most boy you've ever met, then this boy is the most cardboard you've ever met.
What is his name? It starts with a D, right? Is it Dylan?
It might be Dominic.
Oh,
Dominic
sounds
right.
Dominic.
And Batty is Batty.
Batty's struggling.
Oh, right. Batty is like, okay, so when Jeffrey shows up, after Aunt Claire hurts her leg, they end up meeting this guy who lives nearby their like cabin. His name is Alec.
Alan Tudyk.
And he's a musician. And so Jeffrey's like, oh my gosh, I'm a musician. So they start going over to his place to like play with his instruments, and it's really fun. And Batty's like, wait, I think this is fun too. And she starts discovering a love for music, but simultaneously, I guess there's like a common Penderwicks notion that no Penderwick can be good at music. So she's like struggling with how to tell her sisters that she actually wants to be a musician. Jeffrey's like encouraging her. He's like, yeah, you really could do this, Batty. And so finally she's like, I'm going to do like a recital where I perform the piano for my sisters, and then everyone will know that I, Batty Penderwick, am good at music and want to be a musician. But around the time of the recital, Jeffrey finds out that Alec is his father.
Jeffrey's very upset.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you were here the whole time. Why weren't you in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Very understandable sort of like, my father's here reaction.
Yeah.
Even though like they're perfect for each other, like family-wise.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't want anything to do with you. But he also doesn't want anything to do with his mom or Dexter Dupree.
Part of
so
it is
he's kind of just having a bad time.
He had like a really like specific idea of what meeting his father would be like, which was like, I'm going to go to boarding school in Boston and I'm going to find my dad and we're going to know each other immediately when we see each other. But that doesn't happen because he meets Alec and Alec doesn't even know that he has a son. And there's just no instant connection because that's unrealistic. And so Jeffrey feels disappointed that his father didn't know it was him immediately. And so it causes strife.
Dexter shows up and he's like, I'm bringing Jeffrey back. And then they're like, no. And then Dexter Dupree's like, I wasn't expecting confrontation. I'm going home. And then,
right. Yeah. So Jeffrey just kind of like goes on like a solo, like, he like sits by the cliffs.
He literally just runs away.
So Dexter comes and he's like, I want Jeffrey back. And they rebuff him and Dexter leaves. And then Alec's like, my presence here is hurting Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also going to leave. And so Jeffrey spends a lot of time by himself in Alec's house, just like playing music.
Yeah.
and also planning for this recital with Batty because he's not going to back out of that. And so he spends the rest of the book not wanting to talk to Alec until the recital. And then when they all start playing music together, that's when they finally make up and decide to try being a family through the power of music and also being forced into the same room together and being forced to talk to each other.
Alec drove to Arndale to talk to Mrs. Tifton and basically get the full story of why did you not tell me I had a son? And so he comes back and he explains to Jeffrey hey, I didn't even know that you existed, but I would like to get to know you if you are okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Thematically, it's it's a book about Sky is dealing with this growing responsibility and taking on responsibility, but also we sort of start to see the separation between Batty and the rest of the sisters that really culminates in book 4 of the rest of the sisters are off doing their own thing and Batty can't quite keep up or isn't really included. And so she's starting to do her own thing this way with Jeffrey. And then obviously Jeffrey's whole family drama. I don't know what the theme is. I can't wrap my brain around it.
It's kind of like book 1 sort of establishes a paradigm. Book 2 sort of explores that paradigm more in a way, I feel like. And then book 3 is where we actually take the first step in sort of advancing within the course of the narrative, what that paradigm is. It's sure, book 2 is about finding a love for Martin, but that's epilogue material when Iantha becomes a part of their family. For the most part, it's just them doing their thing. Book 3 is Sky literally has to step into a new role at the start of the book. Jeffrey literally learns about his dad partway through the book and has to resolve that. Batty learns about her affinity for music through the course of the book. Jane learns about love, quote unquote, through the course
Jane
of the book.
has her first kiss, her first heartbreak, her first love, all at once.
Yeah.
So I feel they're all sort of growing in their perceptions of themselves. So I'd say book 3 is about overall growth.
Yeah. Most importantly, Aunt Claire meets Turon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they get married in the background. And it's great.
I actually thought that there was going to be more,
signs?
No. I saw the signs. As soon as they met, I was like,
there's something here. They go over to Alec's house and Turon picks her up and it says she giggles.
Yeah.
And it's
so I was
oh,
I was feeling
forward.
the chemistry, so I was expecting more confirmation, I guess, at the end that they were gonna get together. But then it didn't. I was like, oh man. And then the next book, it was and Aunt Claire married Uncle Turon. And I was like, yes.
There's also a little bit of a psyop happening in book 3 because there's a lot of talk about love, not just with Jane, but then Aunt Claire also has this big thing about yeah, I've dated lots of men. But also there's a very important scene that the vast majority of the Penderwick fandom can't get over and where Jeffrey begins to admit having feelings for Sky and Sky ignores it by forcing him into a push-up contest, which is I think the encapsulation of their relationship. And with Jeffrey's but Sky, maybe there's more between us. And Sky's I'd like to punch something, please. If I hit something really hard, maybe math will come out, which is explored more in book 4. But that's sort of setting up this very much Joe and Laurie doomed to fail. Doomed is the wrong word, but you understand.
Doomed pairing.
Back to the theme of this book. If book 1 is all about the perfect nostalgia of childhood summers, I think book 3 is about the messiness of childhood.
Yeah.
Which book 4 is also pretty messy and just hard, but that one has a more clear through line of specifically one life event and how that can affect you. But book 3 is it's just hard being a kid and you just want to go have fun on vacation with your friends, but you have so many responsibilities now, but you don't want responsibilities, and then you feel you've ruined everything because everyone's sad now. And you're just what do I do? I've ruined everything.
And then my best friend's lost dad shows up. And, dang, it's so complicated being a kid.
Yeah. So I really, really liked book 3 because, you just get to know Sky specifically and her inner world so much more. You also get to know Jeffrey more. And I just feel bad for this kid because he's dealing with a lot of stuff.
It's definitely a major Jeffrey Sky book. And we get plenty of Jane, but it is focused more on those two in particular.
Yeah. And we don't realize it, but this is also the last Sky and Jane POV book.
Yeah.
Because in book 4, which is Penderwicks in Spring, they've also graduated
Yeah, there's a huge time jump between books 3 and 4. So like books 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much in the same year, like Jino said. And then when we go to book 4, Jane and Skye are applying to college.
Skye and Jane are both high school. I think one's a senior, one's a junior or something like that. And then Batty is in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's in 5th grade.
5th grade, which is not middle school?
Actually, it does depend on your school, but...
It does.
Batty's in the middle of school. And Ben has graduated from non-speaking background baby to full realized human being.
Yeah, and now there's a new Penderwick.
Yeah, Lydia.
And she's a baby.
And she's a baby.
They're trying to get her into a big girl bed.
Yeah.
Yes. And book 4 is about Batty has a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in no particular order, Hound, the family dog, passed away recently, and Batty feels personally responsible for his death, even though she's not. Rosalind is away at college, and Batty, who was the closest with Rosalind, is now grappling with the fact that Rosalind has like a bigger life than her now.
Yeah, like she's like, oh, Rosalind doesn't have time to spend with me. Not vindictively, but just she's an adult.
Yeah. She's also discovering her affinity for singing, but she feels like she can't show her family yet until like she wants to do it with a special event with Jeffrey. She's really, really counting on Jeffrey to, quote, save her, unquote, to basically like sweep her away from all her problems. But Jeffrey is heads over heels for Skye, and Skye's having none of it. And so Skye keeps like a Victorian drama, sending Jeffrey away. Like, Jeffrey, be gone from my sight. And Jeffrey's like, I will return when you have changed your mind, Skye. And Batty's like, stop it. What the heck? And so she's dealing with, she can't even talk to Jeffrey because Skye's being weird or whatever.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that, she overhears a conversation between Skye and Jeffrey. Skye's under the impression that Batty's birth killed their mom.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly. And so now Batty's like, not only am I responsible for Hound's death, I'm responsible for my mom's death. Everyone hates me. I can't sing anymore because I've lost the sprite, which he calls it. Jeffrey won't talk to me. Rosalind won't talk to me. I can't talk to Skye. Jane's Jane, so she won't understand.
She's just like busy and she's like always has people over.
Jane has a million friends.
It bugs Batty because she's like...
Which feels so right for Jane.
Yeah, because Batty's like, I want to play piano because that's my way of like processing emotions, but Jane's in the living room and there's all these boys over and I just don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, Jane's super popular.
Batty's like distinctly shy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting like, because we've only known her for 3 books as like a 5-year-old who's just a 5-year-old doing 5-year-old things, but she like becomes much shyer as she gets older, which is interesting.
Yeah. The book's about her starting a dog walking business, which helps her get over Hound. And
even that's kind of accidental. She's like, I can dust and I can offer companionship.
Yeah, she's trying to think of a summer job and she's making a list of like, okay, what are things I can do for people around the neighborhood? And she's like, I won't walk dogs though because I'm still sad about Hound. But then like another neighbor is like, well, we don't have any dusting we need, but we have this dog that really needs a walk. Can you just walk her? Like every day, I'll give you like $20 up front. And she's like, whoa, $20. She's like, okay, I guess, but I won't like it. But she ends up really liking it.
Yeah. And then, what is it? She tries to run away from home again.
Oh, yeah.
So this time with much more forethought.
This time she tries to run away, but she has like a plan. She's like, I'm going to take the bus. I'm going to go to Boston. I'm going to find Jeffrey. Jeffrey will make it all better because we'll just like talk about music and forget about our problems.
We are seeing a dynamic rise.
Yeah. But then
stopped.
Nick Geiger.
There's a whole family we haven't talked about yet. The Geigers, who are sort of background characters. Tommy has a thing with Rosalind. They're like sort of on and off.
Yeah.
And they're the same age. And Tommy's like, I like football. Is Rosalind here? Does she want to play football with me? Rosalind's like, no.
They officially get together in book 3.
Yes.
And then in book 4, they're on a break.
Yes, because they're in college and they want to explore.
Yeah.
Or Rosalind does. She doesn't know what she wants.
And so that's another person Batty feels like she's lost because Tommy just doesn't come around anymore.
Yeah.
It really is like a book of like, Batty's like, all of my favorite people are no longer as easily accessible, either just from life circumstances or because my sisters have beef with them.
Yeah. And then Rosalind brings this other guy around.
Oh,
I don't remember the name of.
What's his name?
I think it's Oliver.
Oliver.
Oh, yeah, Oliver.
Yeah, and Oliver's a pretentious film bro, which I thought was so funny.
It was like, oh, man.
Us having gone to film school. You guys, you were screenwriting and you were...
I was film production.
Yeah, film production.
I
Yeah,
was sound.
Yeah, and I was directing. So we were around a lot of pretentious film bros. And so Oliver personally spoke to me a little bit as like a real character, like a real person I've met.
Yeah. It was just mainly like he didn't really care about Rosalind's family.
Yeah.
And she's very much a family person, but he's always like pulling her away.
He was very insecure.
Yeah. So
he was like bribing Ben to tell him like, does Rosalind actually like this neighbor guy or whatever?
Yeah,
Here's $5. And then Ben talks to Batty and they just determine to like rip it up and flush it down the toilet.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want this dirty money.
I was like, no, $5. You could buy a sandwich. And then Nick Geiger, half a sandwich. Well, if you go to Sprouts, hey, pro tip, Sprouts is $5 sandwiches. And then Nick Geiger is Tommy's older brother, who is currently fighting in the Middle East.
Yeah.
They never actually say Middle East. They're just like a faraway land.
But it's pretty clearly in the Middle East.
Jeanne Birdsall never says the Middle East. It's just a faraway land with desert and mountains, and it's far away.
And he flies attack helicopters or something.
Something like that.
And he's coming back from war. And so there's that whole like sort of tension through the whole book. It's like he's going to make it. And he makes it. And he's fine. And he's a great character. And he stops Batty from running away to Boston.
Yeah.
He is a great character.
And he also clowns on Oliver a lot, which is great.
Yeah, no, he is definitely like the hero of this book. Where like anytime like Batty gets in trouble, he's like there to be like, hey, you okay? And she's like, not really. And he's like, okay, well, I'm here if you want to talk to me.
Batty refuses to talk to her father. And so Nick is forced to become like a pseudo older male figure in her life until Batty finally is like, okay, I'll talk to my dad. And then her dad's like, you should have told me all this stuff.
You thought you were responsible directly for your mother's...
I have 6 kids. I'm a teacher's salary. I have a lot of things on my mind. You got to tell me when you're having problems.
Well,
There's a recession.
There's a recession.
Canonically in the book.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, like...
Or it's sort of.
It's just like Batty is
tight.
picking up on her parents' financial concerns. Even though they're very much like, you guys don't have to worry about it. Like, she's still picking up on it. Like, they gave each other a look when, like, so-and-so mentioned needing this and whatnot. So, which is why Batty is like, I want to make my own money this summer. Because she's, like, discovered this talent for singing. Her teacher at school was like, I would really love for you to have lessons, but she's like, I can't afford it and I don't want to ask my parents for it because they already got a lot on their plate. So she's like, I'm gonna make some money, and then in the meantime her teacher is giving her some like singing lessons at school.
She's like helping her. I guess we don't get a whole lot. It's Mrs. Grunfeld is like the substitute music teacher.
Yeah.
And she's awesome.
She's really cool.
She's got like softer Edna Mode vibes. Edna Mode from The Incredibles.
Yeah. But she's like, I can teach you the basics, but I'm not trained in the kind of singing that you need to be trained in.
Yeah.
But Batty's like, I have no one in my life. So Mr. Garfield's like, all right.
One important detail is specifically the Penderwick's mother would sing. And she's the only one who could sing. Which is another reason why Batty has some baggage about singing in particular. Because her sisters have baggage about it. Like, they're like, we can't sing. The only person who in our family who could sing was our mom, and we don't really like to think about that. And so Batty worries that, especially if she's like, I killed my mom, like, she's worried that it'll just be hard for her sisters to accept that she can sing.
Yeah.
And that she wants to sing.
The trauma of that event carries through all 5 books. And it really, I think it's a really effective way to show that, like, this is not something that can be resolved in a character arc in a book. You know, you're going to carry it with you through your whole life. And it's going to change. It's different in every book. Every character has a different, like, experience a different part of it in every book. It really grounds the whole series. It really creates this really effective through line of, like, how do you keep living after this, after losing something so important? And, like, living not despite of it, but, like, in celebration of the person you've lost, I guess.
Yeah. Embracing all of your life.
I do want to specifically highlight Sky and Batty's relationship in this book, which for most of it is not good. Like,
yeah,
Sky she's like more aware of her grief when she was younger, she was like obviously grieving her mom, but now that she's older, she's like actually like thinking about how it has affected her. And so she's then kind of projected her negative feelings onto Batty. You kind of get a glimpse of it in book 3, where Sky's kind of like, ugh, my little baby sister, I'm supposed to be responsible for her, but she's just kind of annoying. And like, I don't really want this responsibility. And so that like carries into book 4.
That is an interesting thing that you bring up, though. Because, like, when Sky expresses to Jeffrey in her anger, like, the depth of her, like, darkest feelings when it comes to the death of her mother and as it relates to, like, how part of her feels about Batty, it's coming off of a book where we spend a lot of time in her head wherein she is obsessing over, like, can I keep Batty from dying? Can I keep Batty from dying? Which I think helps in some ways for the reader, at least, soften the blow that would otherwise make Sky, like, really unlikable.
Yeah, it's like we understand that it's like Sky, she's not like, I hate Batty with, like, the depths of my soul. This is coming from a place of, like, wishing that your mom was here so that you didn't have to do all the difficult things that you've had to do.
Yeah.
Which is very real and valid. But unfortunately, like, Batty overhears this conversation and she's like, Sky hates me. My mom died because she had cancer, but she wanted to keep the baby instead of doing treatment. And I'm the reason why she died.
And it's not like a Shrek, like, oh, I only heard part of the conversation and now I'm misinterpreting it. Like, no, Sky just doesn't, like, understand exactly what happened because she was too young. And she's let her grief cloud her judgment.
Yeah.
I don't think grief is a part of the Sith code. Never mind.
What's hate leads to anger. Anger leads to strong men. Strong men build good times. Good times lead to fear. Fear leads to hate. Hate leads to...
Oh my gosh. Anyways.
Leads to the dark side.
When Sky and Batty actually talk to each other again and have like a really nice conversation about what happened, it's very cathartic, and I just love them. Like, I was like, ah. Also, sorry, I really love book 4, so there's like all these details that I want to talk about. But in book 4, one of the other background through lines is Batty is trying to find this one specific picture of Hound.
Yeah.
That she's like, I know. Like, I don't want to forget. She started to, like, hoard stuff in her closet, basically, of, like, things she doesn't want to forget. She finds a picture of her mom, and she, like, keeps that in the closet. And then she, like, is trying to find this one picture of Hound because she, like, doesn't want to forget what he looked like, and she can't find it.
It's brilliant because me as the reader, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I read her giving it away.
No,
Who
see,
did she give
I
it away
forgot
to?
it. I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Me too.
So,
but it's in the first book.
It's in the first book where she gives this picture to Jeffrey, and she's like, you can give it back to me when I need it or something, she says.
Yeah, but it's such a small part of the book.
It's so small, and I, like Batty, had forgotten because in my mind, I was like, that was so long ago. It just didn't feel relevant anymore.
Brilliant.
And then when it comes back, I was like,
Yeah, as an apology gesture, Jeffrey gives the picture back.
You don't expect it to be a plant when it happens in book 1.
Yeah.
The plant's in book 1, because there's another one in book 5 that pays off.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I would love to ask Jeanne Birdsall if this was intentional or if she's just a brilliant writer. and I know she's a brilliant writer, but like, because book 1 doesn't feel like the beginning of a 5-book series. It just feels like a contained story, and then it becomes this beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed.
Should we talk about book 5?
Book 5, okay, so Batty's graduated. Batty's off to college. Jane's off to college. No. Jane's not in college.
And so Batty's not either.
No, Batty's in college. Batty's in college studying music.
You're right.
Jane is working as a waitress part-time in order to write her novel, which she hasn't finished.
Yes.
Sky is doing her PhD or something.
PhD in California. Rosalind is working on a farm.
And she's engaged. To Tommy.
And she's buff as hell. And she's engaged to Tommy. Nick's still alive.
Nick did canonically get wounded.
Nick canonically got a Purple Heart in some war. It's 2019 and Hamilton just came out. And they reference that. And
wait, Hamilton came out in like 2016, right? Or 2015?
It must have been 2015. Yeah.
But the book takes place in 2019.
Yes.
But they do, yeah.
They reference Hamilton.
They just reference Hamilton.
That's-
so it's
that's-
like, Hamilton has come out.
Yeah, that's part of how the book places you. Is they're like, they reference
There's
all
a
these
lot
old
of pop
musicals,
culture
and they're like, and Hamilton, and you as a reader go, oh, whiplash. Our POV characters are Lydia and Ben?
I think it's just Lydia.
It's just Lydia.
Yeah. Because Ben is now a high schooler who wants to become a movie director. Lydia is in fifth grade?
I think it's fifth grade.
Fifth grade, and she loves dancing and being competent. And it's basically about Rosalind's wedding at Arundel. So bringing us all the way back to the first book, Lydia and Jane show up first. No, Lydia and Batty show up first.
Yeah.
In order to help set up Arundel, which has been bequeathed to Jeffrey, which is how they're doing this. Because Mrs. Tifton has had a string of failed marriages, and she doesn't want to be at Arundel anymore. She's like, I'm gone. I'm going to New York. Except she doesn't. She sticks around the whole book, and she's just a problem. It's basically Lydia making friends with the daughter of Cagney.
Yeah,
who's
because
back.
Cagney's back.
Cagney's back.
I did not expect that.
Cagney's back. He's married. He has a daughter he has 2 kids, actually, but one is at summer camp.
Yeah.
And so his daughter, Alice, becomes Lydia's friend.
Yeah, Cagney's back in Avengers Endgame, and so it's Lydia and Alice running around Arundel,
Penderwicks and
Penderwick's Endgame, and so as the reader, it's really fun because you get to see how Arundel's changed after all the years, but you also get to see as the sisters and other family members show up one by one, you get to see how they've changed over the years. The most importantly, you get to see how Mrs. Tifton has changed over the years. And she's no longer this like intimidating, like scary woman. She's just kind of like silly and sad.
But she befriends Lydia in a weird way.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Lydia doesn't want it either.
Yeah. But Lydia just happens to be like the one Penderwick that can actually talk to Mrs. Tifton in a way that she understands.
Because she doesn't react with fear.
Yeah.
She just stands there like, what? Mrs. Tifton's like, finally, a human being I can talk to. And he's like, please don't talk to me.
And Lydia doesn't like it either. They're like, Mrs. Tifton really seems to like you, Lydia. She thinks you're like not as disagreeable as the rest of us. And Lydia's like, but I want to be disagreeable.
Lydia's like, I want to be annoying to Mrs. Tifton.
The 5th book is really it's like a swan song for the Penderwick series. It's just like, here's where everyone is. Everyone's having a good time. We're here for this big celebration. There's no like big conflict of the book. And so it feels maybe like the least substantial
The main
that
conflict
way.
is Lydia's like, I really like Arundel and I want to stay here longer.
Yeah. And then she gets to. And
Yeah.
it's wrapped up really nicely. But it's mostly just like, it feels like a reward. Thank you for reading these first 4 books.
Yeah.
Here is a wonderful celebration of the Penderwicks and all of their friends and family that they've collected over the years, like Pokemon. And it's just really nice.
It's really
cozy.
beautiful.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is some drama in the background, though.
There is some drama in the background.
And it's palpable. Mrs. Tifton's showing up and threatening that if Jeffrey were to ever marry one of the Penderwick girls, because she's convinced that both Sky and Jane...
Mrs. Tifton shows up to talk to Jane specifically.
She's like, you're after my Jeffrey. And Jane's like, I haven't seen you in like 10 years.
And then she's like, Sky's after my Jeffrey. And it's like, Sky's literally marrying some guy from the Czech Republic. I don't know what to tell you.
And so she threatens, like, if Jeffrey ever marries Penderwick, I'll disinherit him from his trust. He'll get nothing, not even Arundel.
And then the Penderwicks are like, none of us are going to marry Jeffrey, all side-eye Batty.
Yeah.
That's sort of, also, yeah, the book heavily implies that Jeffrey and Batty are compatible, but it doesn't go anywhere farther than that. And someone specifically says, maybe in 5 or 6 years, or something like that.
I think it's actually like longer. Like Jane says, like in 7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years. Because there is a significant age gap and,
Yeah. Jane tells Lydia, like, I couldn't promise Mrs. Tifton that none of us will marry Jeffrey because I do kind of think that Jeffrey and Batty are made for each other. And maybe in 7 or 8 years, something will come of that.
Yeah.
There is another character, a random character who shows up who's basically like Batty's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, yeah, Wesley. Okay, this is the other drama I was referring
Wesley's
to.
kind of fascinating.
Wesley
Yeah.
is a really interesting character. So Batty had a boyfriend in college named Wesley, but then they broke up because he wanted to move to Europe or something.
Oregon.
No, yeah.
San Francisco.
San Francisco?
Oh, right. No, yeah. He wanted to move to the West Coast, and Batty was like, I don't want to move. And also, like, we're like too young to like make that kind of commitment. So she breaks up with him.
they're not super compatible, but they're incredibly nice.
They're just like really nice, and she loves his dog, and he like hand makes mobiles for them.
Because he's like an artist.
Yeah.
So he knows like carpentry and all this
He's
stuff.
the chillest man alive.
Yeah.
He's what Dominic wishes he was.
He's what all of these random boyfriend, ex-boyfriends wish that they could be.
And Lydia is like, oh, I just wish you would get back together with Wesley because I love his dog. And Batty's like, Lydia, I'm so sorry. I can't just be with him because of his dog.
It's kind of amazing to see a Batty who's so mature after having 3 books of baby Batty.
Yeah.
It's sort of like every time Batty talks, I'm like, wow, so profound. It's Batty saying like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, amazing. the
That's
intellect.
more than she said in book 1.
She's making little references like when she's saving the spiders as they're cleaning the house.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she's
Batty,
like, step into my parlor. And I'm like, that's a funny reference. You were 5 yesterday for me.
Stop it, Batty. Stop. Stop growing.
Wesley shows up. Why does he show up again?
He shows up to give a gift to Rosalind, I think, right?
Oh, yes, like a wedding present. Maybe to drop something off.
Yeah, I think he's
Batty.
there to like drop something off, and then his motorcycle breaks down because, of course, he has a motorcycle with a sidecar for Hitch, the dog. And then he sticks around to build furniture for the wedding, and then he pieces out before it happens.
Yes, but he does stick around long enough to basically hear Lydia and Alice, Cagney's daughter, talk about Batty's relationship with Jeffrey and their dynamic. And then he like picks up by it, and it's implied that he has like a phone conversation maybe with Jane, who passed some information on to Batty or whatever, and then Batty like runs out to meet him before he goes, and you basically get the implication that like he knows, and he's not exactly telling her like you should be with this guy, but he's like he literally says to her like you're gonna be happy, and she's like,
first of all,
I am
Jeffrey
happy, and
and
he's
Batty
like,
have
I
the
know.
same ringtone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Jeffrey's favorite song or something.
Batty's ringtone goes off, and Jeffrey's like, oh, that's my phone. And Batty's like, no, that's my phone. And I was just like, guys, okay.
You guys are gross.
So this is a moment where listening to the audiobook, I think, affected how I maybe interpreted the scene. But there's a moment where, because Mrs. Tifton is meddling, but she's also like, she means well in like a weird way. Rosalind is already planning to get married at Arndale, but then last minute, Skye decides to also get married because she's like, everything's already set up for a wedding. If I'm going to get married, this is probably the only way it's going to happen, just because I don't want to like deal with all the logistics like Rosalind's been doing for a while. So they decide to do a double wedding. And Mrs. Tifton is like, I'm going to get them these veils that they can wear, even though both of them have already decided they don't want to wear veils. So Batty and Lydia open up the boxes and they're like, dang, these are actually really nice. It's a shame that our sisters won't wear them.
Mm-hmm.
But then they end up trying them on. And then Jeffrey like walks in the door, and it's like described like he like looks at Batty and he's like, oh, is Rosalind here already? And Lydia's like, no, that's Batty. And it's like, and Jeffrey had an odd look on his face. And I was just like...
Jeffrey's like, the passage of time.
Yeah. But like the way that it was narrated, it was like very romantic. And I was like, wait. Because at this point, okay, backing up, I knew...
Beep. Beep. Beep.
Is there any other essential plot things before I dive into this discussion?
Tehran's kids have a band.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and whatchamacallit, the actual ending of the book is very sweet because it mirrors...
Little Women.
I guess, well, it implies... Well, I was mainly just thinking of the beginning of the Penderwicks when they meet Jeffrey. Jeffrey and Skye bump heads in the tunnel.
Alice's sister.
Yeah, and I think
Or brother.
Jeffrey even hears his mom calling. And at the end of this book, Lydia bumps her head into Alice's brother because he's home from camp. Or she bumps into his cast because he broke his arm trying to like outdo his sister's like feats like to impress him.
Yeah.
And Lydia hears Mrs. Tifton yelling after her, as Mrs. Tifton has been doing the whole book.
Yeah.
And then they scurry through the hedge together and go run off to have more childhood fun.
Yeah.
Which is a
yes.
picture
That's
of
really
book
fun.
ending.
I was
Yeah.
referring to like that scene where they're all like all the sisters are sitting together. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
they
after
have
the wedding.
they have a final moops. No,
Yeah.
mops.
Mops.
Meeting of Penderwick siblings.
the image of that corresponded directly with like the image of like all the sisters meeting up at the end of Little Women. Just like visually, there's no like direct, I don't think there's a direct scene correlation, but like them in a nice like big mansion area.
Yeah.
Like all kind of dressed
It's basically
up.
like this is one of the last times we'll all be together in the same room in this context of childhood because Rosalind and Skye are getting married.
Yeah.
And they honestly don't even get through a full mops because
They're busy.
Everyone's like running in, asking people for stuff. And like Lydia's just trying to like tell them about Mrs. Tifton's gift for them that they don't want. And it's like a mess, but it's just like, that's what having siblings is like. So it's really perfect in that way. And yeah. One beef I have though is that we don't get to actually see the wedding.
Yeah.
It just skips over it.
I also had that feeling the first time I read it. I was like, no wedding. But then you think about it, like imagine you don't want anything wrong to happen
That's
at the
true.
wedding. So it's just like describing a wedding, which is
That's
like not
fair.
inherently the most interesting thing
Yeah.
to read about.
We do get it like described what it's going to look like and be like.
Mhm.
They do
Because
kind
they're
of
doing all the
rehearse it. So I guess
preparation.
we've basically seen all the important parts
Yeah.
of the wedding.
I know what you
Yeah.
mean, though.
I don't know. It just felt really fast at the end where it's just like they have this big final mops and it's like, and then we left. And I was like, whoa.
That does feel sort of true to life, though. When you have this really
That's
big
true.
event that
Yeah.
like you spend days and days and days and days like plan, not just like like looking forward to, but planning.
Yeah.
And then it happens, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And Skye and Rosalind are out of there.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like, these are like thoughts that have just been percolating since I finished the last book, which when I first read it, I actually didn't know how I felt when I finished reading it. Part of it was I think I'd built up too much anticipation for this last book. And then when it started, I was like, whoa. Because the time jump is really significant, to be honest. Like, I found myself really missing some of the in-between, which I think is part of the point. But I was like, no, but I want it. We'll get to Batty and Jeffrey in a second.
Okay.
But first of all, Skye.
Skye.
I don't know, like specifically her relationship with Batty was like so great in book 4. And then suddenly in book 5, she's actually like barely there because she doesn't arrive until basically right before the wedding. She suddenly has this like long-term boyfriend named Dushek, who I was like, who is that?
Random guy.
He plays soccer.
Yeah. And I mean, like, he does seem very nice and a good fit for Skye, but I was just like, I just felt like I needed like a little bit more of just like seeing them.
It's like if Mr. Bear showed up,
But like,
but
there
from
was no
but not,
context.
but not from that perspective. From like, I don't know.
That's
a
true. I
different
guess
sister's
it'd been like,
perspective.
yeah, if like in Amy's perspective, she's just like, who is this?
Hello, I'm Mr. Bear, and you're
Well,
like,
but even
who?
Joe wrote letters. Like, I mean,
but we like, you know.
anyways, yeah, you know what I mean. So I was like a little thrown by those initial first chapters, whereas like, okay, we're catching up. Rosalind's engaged. I was like, that makes sense. Jane's trying to write a book. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Batty's being amused. I was like, everything made sense except for Skye was like kind of out of left field. But once I got over it, I was like, okay, it's fine. So the eternal question of like, who is Jeffrey going to end up with?
Right.
I had few expectations, but I was like, I just need to know.
And the book did not give you a concrete. So did you reach the end of the book where Lydia goes, I think I figured it out. I think Batty and Jeffrey, are they? And then Jane goes, maybe. And then you were probably like, what the heck?
I was like, dang.
No closure.
I read this whole thing and it's just a little open-ended. Okay. The funny thing is, even though Jino had told me, like, hey, this really mirrors Little Women, I like tricked myself. I was like, once again, sitting there being like, okay, Skye and Jeffrey are not going to end up together. I still kind of wanted them to just because their dynamic is great, but I was like, no, I accept that they're not going to end up together. So then I was like, who else? I was like, obviously not Rosalind, because Rosalind has like other boyfriends that she's much more invested in, and I don't sense any chemistry with her and Jeffrey. So then for a while I was like convincing myself that Jeffrey would marry Jane.
I was sort of there a little bit because after we did our first recording for book 1,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, who could it be?
Which like, because Jane and Jeffrey do have like a couple moments. They are very platonic. Like, I want to be clear.
They are very
but, like,
platonic.
because in my head, I was like trying so hard to like guess. I was sitting there being like, well, I mean, they do have some common interests, and like
Yeah.
this conversation is like
They're
pretty good.
both very artistic.
Yeah, exactly.
But in
So-
different ways.
Yeah. So even though like Jino had told me it was like Little Women, I was like, but it can't, like he can't marry Batty because she's so much younger than him.
I know the book tricks us by having Batty
still-
be 5 years old for 3 of it.
I still don't know how I feel because their age gap is so big.
Well, how old is Jeffrey in book 1?
Book 1, he's Sky's age.
So that's like, is that like 11 or 12?
He's
I think he's 27 in book 5.
In
or maybe
book 5.
25. He's in like mid-20s.
Yeah, I mean, so the older you get, the less the age gap becomes
Yeah.
a thing. So if you wait like 7 years, Batty's like 26, Jeffrey's like
32, 31.
33.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's an age gap, but it's not like, it's
I
not
think
what I
it
would
just
describe
feels
as...
different because like he's known her since she was 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
That does feel...
Like if they had met a little later, I would have been like, okay, but it's like a little hard for my brain to like comprehend liking someone that I knew when they were 5.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I looked it up, and people like roasted this book. Like people were not happy.
Really?
Yeah. The general consensus is that people like 5 the worst.
Yeah.
Like when
Wow.
all the rankings, 5's at the bottom.
Interesting.
And all of the fan fiction is about Sky and Jeffrey. People
boy.
are very upset. that
It's
Sky did not
literally,
end up
It's
together.
literally
Little Women
Little Women.
all over
Yeah.
again.
But here's the thing. Here's my pitch, right?
Yeah.
I felt the exact same way.
Jeanne Birdsall. Wait, is it Jeanne Birdsall?
Jeanne
or-
Birdsall.
Jeanne
Jeanne, okay. I've read 5 of these things. You think I should know her name? Jeanne Birdsall, if you're listening, heavens help me. I hope you're not. I really love book 5. I think book 5 is perfect.
I also really like book 5. Like I just had to like get out of my head because I do really, really like Jeffrey and Batty are my 2 favorite characters. So them maybe like 10 years in the future eventually getting married is like great. They have a great dynamic. But I just like part of me is still like, I don't know.
I felt the exact same way as you and also the majority of the Penderwicks readers in the very tiny subreddit do when I first read this series. Because again, I read the first book when I was in school still, and then I realized the next 4 books existed only after graduating college. So when I first read it, I was like disappointed because of course Sky and Jeffrey should end up together. Reading it again, you begin to read all of their conversations together, and you realize they're never quite communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sky and Jeffrey have a couple of similarities and like a couple of shared interests. They like soccer. They're like running around and like horseplay. They're both very like big personalities. But beyond that, they don't mesh almost at all.
Yeah.
I would argue. Like Sky is very blunt. She likes facts and figures. She likes math, big picture things. Like she loves space. She doesn't like the micro at all. She's like a very macro person. She doesn't like thinking about feelings. She doesn't think about art. Anytime Jeffrey brings up music, she tunes it out or beats him up, like physically hurts him to make him stop. That's Jeffrey's whole life is music, is
Yeah.
art. Like he lives in the emotion and the micro of the world. Like he doesn't like big picture stuff. He likes analyzing and like the art of life. And Sky likes the math of life. And so even though they do share some similarities that as kids you can use to build a strong friendship, like we both like kicking balls at trees or like hitting each other with sticks or breaking windows. Like we like doing kid
Or-
These are the foundation of your childhood friendships.
Or like my new friend Sky helps me stand up to my mother and stepfather
Yeah.
that I've been at the mercy of my whole life.
Yeah. And then my great friend Sky is there when I found my dad.
Yeah.
And then I sang my love to her and she kicked me out a window. It's like, so like they're compatible in a way that only kids could be compatible in. And because of that, they're going to be friends for the rest of their lives. But if they had met like as they were, if they had met like in college, I do not think they would have liked each other at all.
No.
Ooh, yeah.
Classmates at best.
Classmates, yeah.
For a GE
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. Like they wouldn't have even interacted probably.
Yeah. So all of the emotion, they like, oh, maybe they would work really well together. Part of it's like this really strong platonic friendship. And part of it just like Jeffrey's yearning is so strong that we feel it as readers through the book. And we're like, Jeffrey, I love Jeffrey. Why can't you just make him happy, Sky? But that could never work. They would not. Yeah, it would not last.
Yeah.
In book 2, I think during one of the moops. It's one of the moops. I was going to say Mops Ab, but that's Ann Ben. So one of the it's one of the full mops, not the moops.
Okay.
So meeting of Penderwick sisters, and they're talking about the Save Daddy plan or whatever. There's a line, I think, where Batty specifically says, like, I think Daddy should marry Iantha because she likes Ben and likes...
She likes Iantha. She, like, goes over to Iantha's house all the time just to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Martin's like, another adult to watch my 4 rambunctious children.
And I think the sisters at that point are kind of like, whatever, Batty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like something Batty says is sort of like, if you're reading the book and you know, it's like a little wink to you, the reader, like, a little bit of prophecy.
Yeah.
Batty, the most young and naive, is tuned into what will be the end of this plot thread. And in book 3, there's a very similar thing where Batty says, I'm going to marry Jeffrey when I get older.
Yeah. I think she says in book 1 as well.
She says book 1, yeah.
Does she really?
Yeah.
Everything Batty predicts happens.
Batty is clairvoyant.
But she loses that clairvoyance as she gets older.
Yeah.
In
tragedy.
2020, a global pandemic. Her eyes like shine. Her Batty, no!
Oh, yeah. So the other payoff I was mentioning earlier is that they find Batty's butterfly wings
Yeah.
in book 5. And that was cute.
It's kind of like a background detail in the scene.
Yeah.
Because they're like crumpled up in the closet and they're like discussing other things. But like as the reader, you're going, the butterfly wings. Oh, she's putting them back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that people were upset about was the lack of interactions with the older Penderwick sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they did feel like the Sky and Dushek thing came out of nowhere, especially since, like, the last time you see her, she's like, I don't want to fall in love. I mean, they even addressed it actually in the 5th book where they're like, do you even want to get married? And she's like, I don't know. I guess maybe I could change my mind. And then people were also just upset they couldn't see the wedding, which I was like, yeah, I'm also upset. But I get it. I
think it's a perfect book. I think it's perfectly true to life that if you jump ahead this many years, things will just happen.
Yeah.
But also just from Lydia's perspective, she's not going to go chasing after older sisters and have deep conversations wrapping up their plot lines.
Yeah.
And we've established through all the other books that, like, once you get past a certain age, you have graduated from POV.
Yeah.
So we can't get more. You're done. Get out of here. So
I will say anytime Lydia happened to be around for a important older Penderwick sister moment, I was like, yes!
Yeah. Understandably.
I was like, finally. And then there's like one moment where, okay, because Mrs. Tifton comes to talk to Jane about
Yeah. And at first, Mrs. Tifton's like, Lydia, you can leave now. And I'm like, no. And
No,
Jane's
but then
like,
Jane's
anything
like-
you can say to me, you can say to Lydia. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, and then Jane's like, oh, wait, actually, no, Lydia, can you go to the bathroom? And like, wait. And I was like, no. Jane.
But then Jane summarizes.
Yeah, later on, Jane tells her, she's like, actually, this is what happened.
She literally walks into the bathroom and dunks her head under the water.
In a way, it is a really great storytelling device because if Lydia had been there for that conversation, it would have destroyed any remaining tension of like, who is Jeffrey going to end up with?
Mm-hmm.
But it like carries until almost the end of the book where Jane finally tells Lydia, like, this is what Mrs. Tifton said, and this is what I think. And it's like, finally, at least some acknowledgement of like what's going on. There was also another part of me that felt like it was in my head because of like, I was like, okay, Jeffrey just definitely looked at Batty and like thought that she was beautiful. But am I just like making that up?
You had doubts?
Yeah.
I was from because this is because in our first episode, Jino was very much like, yeah, this is a major thing, like a long running thread throughout the rest of the books is like, who will Jeffrey end up with? So the whole time I'm like on the lookout.
I was also on the lookout, but I had just deluded myself into thinking it couldn't be Batty.
Will Jeffrey end up with Sky's arch nemesis on the soccer team? Could that be it?
By the end, I was like, maybe Jeffrey doesn't end up with anyone.
Certainly by book 5, I was like, okay, I don't think this is going to end with even an epilogue like Jeffrey and Batty later, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, book 4, Batty is like, Jeffrey, my savior.
That's true, yeah.
who introduced me to music, and I talk about music at every length.
Jeffrey is like her
sends me
favorite
albums
person.
and
Yeah. Anytime she like wants advice or help with something, she's like, I wish Jeffrey was here.
She dances with him too in book 5.
Yeah. Like, I think the phone call conversation, I don't even remember what happens, but I remember it was like Wesley's on the phone and he's like, yeah, I think Batty likes Jeffrey. And then Jane's there like, yeah, I think Batty and Jeffrey are meant to be together. And I in the audience was like, is it really Batty and Jeffrey? But what?
What?
But he's so old.
Impossible.
I really do like the last book. Also, sorry, I'm just jumping around now. I really like Mrs. Tifton and Lydia interactions. They're just so fun.
It gives you one of those, like, not that these books really have like villains or whatever, but it gives you that sort of like prime book one villain downgraded to like
Yeah.
Like
cozy
she's sort of
joke
just
villain.
like silly.
Yeah.
In the last book, like hiding to try to
She's
avoid
just like
the other
deeply
characters.
lonely.
Yeah.
And Lydia is the one person who's still kind of willing to talk to her because Lydia didn't have the mean
trauma.
Mrs. Tifton like scary memories. She's heard the stories, but she's like,
Yeah.
I
She
think
knows
Lydia-
her as this, like, to her perspective,
cartoonish.
cartoonish,
Yeah.
profoundly powerless.
and
Just
she's
sort
like,
of.
no, she's fine. But like, I think Lydia as a character is just so sweet because she just like, she's just really like welcoming to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess they say that about like, oh, Lydia, you like everyone.
Yeah, everyone likes
and
you,
Lydia's
Lydia.
like, I don't like everyone. I'm a strong-willed, opinionated
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. I think Mrs. Tifton is not just lonely, but she's struggling with the idea of letting Jeffrey go.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to control his life still, but Jeffrey is so like independent now. She's like, Jeffrey, you'll marry this girl. And this random woman has already married someone else.
Yeah.
And Tifton's like, what? Impossible. What?
Jeffrey now at this point, he doesn't have a great relationship with her, but he knows how to like manage. So it's like when she comes to like meddle, he's like, okay, I'll take care of it. And he like tries to like get her to like, he's like, okay, so what about you stay with this friend? We'll do all this stuff and you can give Rosalind and Sky a gift. That's fine. But please just don't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Tifton just. Every scene, as we've discussed, book 5, every scene with her was like, oh, hell yeah, another Mrs. Tifton scene.
Mrs. Tifton is like any character in, oh man, was it Prydain? Or no, Golden Compass. Whenever an exposition character would pop up, Mrs. Tifton would come and be like, ah, yes, some lore is about to happen.
And I loved, basically, like, the moment she sits down with Lydia and is like, I like your hair. I'm going to take a picture of your hair so my friend can get it done. I was like, Mrs. Tifton, you are such a pill, but this is like perhaps the most clear sign you've ever given to liking anyone ever.
Yeah.
And like just her whole weird softening throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's kind of still just a very deplorable person, and the way that she kept Jeffrey from his father, like didn't make any word of it, is like actively interceding into his life, threatening to cut him off from his trust if he marries someone that she, like, for reasons entirely by her own imagining, just doesn't like. Profoundly unlikable individual, and yet I still feel so much.
Yeah.
There's still that sympathy, and it's just like, I mean, I think even in our book 1 recording, it's like all these characters are so well drawn that you can't help but just enjoy them when they appear, because you're like, everything I'm getting from this character is so authentically this character.
Yeah.
It's true. Another thing that is kind of a satisfying button is at the end, because at the end, Lydia's like, and Mrs. Tifton walked away in hopes that she would never have to interact with another Penderwick again, but she might have to in about 7 or 8 years. It's just funny because also in book 1, she is the most antagonistic towards Batty. Like, she does not like Batty for like stupid reasons, but it would be really satisfying if Jeffrey was like, not only am I going to marry a Penderwick mom, but I'm going to marry Batty, the one that you like the least.
Yeah.
Who like dropped a spider on you or whatever.
Okay, so we've run through all 4 books.
Yes.
We spent a lot of time on the 5th book, but I feel like we didn't spend as much time on like 1 or 2, or
Yes.
2 or 3. Ugh. I guess specifically, not only are these books a really great experience just for like the catharsis, but also they're sort of like an idealized vision of what childhood could be
Yeah.
without sugarcoating it. Like there's a lot of like tragedy and like darkness
Yeah.
explored in these books, but they're also just like idealized, right? Like I have one sibling, what's up, Jin Young, who is great, but I didn't have like 6 siblings. I don't know what that's like. And so it's really interesting to explore that like perspective of like, what's it like to be the oldest of this many? What's it like to be the middle? What's it like to be the youngest and like significantly youngest and sort of separate? Like all your other sisters are in college. So moments of childhood from like books 2 and 3, like the play or soccer games or having a bunch of friends over at your house and your dad's like, stop eating all our snacks. And I'm like, sorry, Dad, guys gotta eat.
Are you asking like moments that you recall from the books or that we recall from the books?
Moments that spoke to you, like maybe you connected with through your own childhood or things that surprised you or just like things we missed because we kind of sped through them.
Well, this suddenly came to mind from book 4, admittedly. Near the end, after the primary issues have been resolved and Batty's recovering. And Ben, I think, asked, like, is it okay if I have some of your birthday cake that's left over? And Batty's like, as long as you leave me peace. And he's like, all right. And then Jane comes up and is like, hey, one of my Dominics wants to know if he can have some of your cake. And she's like, as long as you leave me peace. And she's like, okay, great. Mr. Penner comes up and she's like, do you want some of my birthday cake? And he's like, no. And she's like, okay. And then Sky comes up delivering Jeffrey to her and is like, I gave Jeffrey the last piece of your cake. And I'm like, all of this rings very true to all of these characters. And very true for Sky, who's like, I'm giving you the best gift I can, which is Jeffrey. But also, I'm
trading you the piece of birthday cake.
Yeah, like, I'm not asking you about the cake. I just gave him the cake.
Yeah.
Sky reminds me of people that I have known very specifically in her mannerisms, far-ranging. Jane, maybe a little less so, but like Sky rings extremely true to me as a character. And yet there is also that, as you said, Jino, idealism in how these things are presented. It's like literally the most bucolic and yet not overly saccharine version of like childhood and having a multitude of siblings that are all sort of occupying their own niches within interests that have a little bit of crossover in the Venn diagram but are still distinct.
Yeah. Like, they're the Penderwicks fight, but of course they have a segmented, named system of meeting and discussing secret plans. Like, they're not super wealthy, but of course they have a giant forest they can explore in their backyard that they have total free reign over. You know? It's realistic, but also it's too perfect. But the perfectness is what makes it fun to explore. Like, I wish I could have that.
Yeah.
What about you, Victoria?
The school play stuff in book 2 spoke to me just as someone who like wrote plays for my sibling, for my brother. I was gonna be like, my siblings. I was like, I don't have multiple siblings. I have one brother.
You're in Penderwick mode.
Yeah, I would write plays for my brother and I to perform. And so I definitely was a little bit of Jane in terms of like, yeah, like this is the best thing I've ever written. And I'm so excited to like perform it for people and it's going to be awesome. And then it doesn't end up like the way that you wanted it to. And you're like, dang, but I'm still proud that I wrote the thing. My favorite part was definitely just like the way they captured how hard it is to articulate your feelings as a kid. Like we said, like it is definitely idealized where like at the end they eventually like figure it out and they have like a nice long like cathartic conversation about it. Although I wouldn't say they're long. Like some, like even like Sky and Batty's conversation in book 4 is not, they don't get like really in depth. Like, let's talk about our whole relationship as sisters and how we miss our mom and whatnot. It's more just like, hey, I'm really sorry that I said that and that you heard it. Let's not do that again.
Yeah.
In book 2, like Sky, was it Sky or Jane who has like a secret rock that they like go to?
Jane, Jane.
One of my favorite things, holy smokes, book 2, Jane's quasi-religion dedicated to a boulder in the woods.
And she'll spend like a few minutes on it trying to summon different fictional characters to whisk her away. And when she's like, Aslan didn't show up. All right, next one. Come on down.
And she's like literally like her method of like ritual practice with this boulder feels very true as far as I understand it to like ancient religions where it's like I have to do this ritual exactly right in order to get what I want and like write out the proper contract with my boulder. And if it works, then it's because the boulder and its great power made it true. And if it doesn't work, it's because I didn't do a good enough job at the ritual.
Yeah.
It's never the boulder's fault.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a very nostalgic kid thing. Back in Colorado, we had snow day rituals where like people were like, okay, you got to sleep with a spoon under your pillow. You have to flush ice down the toilet twice and like some other stuff in hopes that the next morning you wake up and school's canceled.
That's a very kid thing.
That's
So
awesome.
anytime the weather forecast was like, there's going to be snow, everyone at school would be like, okay, make sure you do the snow day ritual. I never did it. Sorry, guys.
Hey, listener, write in your specific kid rituals when you wanted something to happen.
Yeah.
What would you do? I would hide in my closet before swim practice and pray to Poseidon to make it lightning. To make it thunder and lightning so it wouldn't
Really?
so I wouldn't have to go to swim practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should have been praying to Zeus at the same time.
I didn't understand. I was like, Poseidon got it. He's water, right? And then I think at dinner I'd think about I should make a fire sacrifice of part of my dinner, like in Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
But I could never figure out how to do it without my mom asking questions. Like, why are you burning like some of my dumplings? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go swimming tomorrow. And she's like, what?
That's incredible. Oh, I did have a thought. Book 4 Lydia, her obsession with Ben. Our introduction to her is her standing up at her crib and shouting from the like second story window, Ben!
Yeah.
And then
And Ben
Batty's
is like, ugh.
get off of the railings of your crib, Lydia. And Lydia like thinks about it and then goes, Ben! And like her insistence to like get into whatever room Ben is in made me think very much of my relationship with my younger sister like for years in terms of like I could entertain myself. My sister needed to play games or like do something with another person. And if that failed, her way of entertaining herself would be just to bother me.
Yeah.
And it would quickly turn into situations of me like holding my bedroom door
Wow.
closed. Like, stop, I'm trying to like play with my action figures or whatever. And she'd be like, at first, she'd just try and force her way in, and then she'd go into crocodile tears. And then I learned that the tears were crocodile tears, and I'd be like, you're not fooling me. And there'd be like 10 seconds of silence, and then the doorknob going again.
Amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah. Oh, going off of I guess both of you are like the difficulties and like weirdness of kids trying to communicate emotions. One thing going for Skye and Jeffrey as a pairing is that I remember as a young kid, often when you wanted to express like interest or like romantic interest with like another kid, but you didn't know what that was or what that felt like, instead of like doing anything normal, you would resort to violent antagonism. And this is sort of a thing, like this goes two ways. Like sometimes like when boys are mean to like little girls, people will be like, oh, that means he likes you. And like, no, he's just being a little ass. But like sometimes it really is like when two kids are like constantly bickering, maybe they like each other.
Like
it's important that it's not one-sided.
Of, like,
Yeah.
fostering a connection without having to acknowledge why they want that connection.
Yeah, like I get to be in the same space at you and do the same
and
thing
we have
as
like
you.
a shared memory of like punching each other.
Sometimes my skin will even make contact with your skin. That's crazy. Yeah, sure. It's like when I like slam your hand on the desk with my fist to make your nails bruise. But yeah, we touched. Like, so that maybe there is something there. Maybe Skye pummeling Jeffrey with like a toilet paper roll or whatever, paper towel roll.
I think you're right, Jino. It's like Skye and Jeffrey, when they were younger, like it doesn't matter if they don't have the same interests because they have enough common ground and they just enjoy hanging out with each other. They have their like small arguments or like bantering that they enjoy. And it's like technically that could carry them into adulthood. That could still be a dynamic that works. But ultimately it's because like Skye is not interested in making it work.
Yeah. She doesn't want to try.
Yeah, she's like, I don't really have interest in Jeffrey's music, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like the fact that she's like, it's not important to me to try.
Yeah. Also, Jeffrey's music is his whole life.
Yeah.
So if your romantic partner's not interested, then like, ooh.
Yeah. Just because they're different doesn't mean that they wouldn't have worked out, but it's mainly like the way that they ultimately grew to address those differences is the breaking point of why they couldn't date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't. They're not allowed to. Any final thoughts about the Penderwicks or childhood or growing up or working a part-time job as a waitress so you can write your novel, but you can't quite get it to work? And you're not going to write a series of 5 books. That's too much.
Oh, I did
That
really
was
like
hilarious.
that. I really liked that because I remember in Little Women, there was a little meta moment where like Louise May Alcott was like, yeah, editors, they don't like paying their writers. But then I liked how also in the Penderwicks, Jeanne Birdsall got her own little meta moment through Jane as well.
And that was a prediction by Wesley again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, he said probably Batty and Jeffrey. And then I literally wrote it down. She said, on the other hand, he also said my first big success will be with a series of novels, maybe 5 of them. And she's like, I don't want to write 5 a series of 5. Oh, there was also when Aunt Claire sprains her ankle in book 3 and Jane's writing more Sabrina Starr novels, she has this like line as she's writing a passage and it goes, Miss Starr, I'm Dr. Albert, ankle specialist.
That's really funny, but also the modern medical system is sometimes it does feel like that. Sometimes you go to a doctor and they're like, you need a lower body specialist. And then you go to the lower body specialist and they're like, you need a left leg specialist. And you go to the left leg specialist and they're like, sorry, can't do anything about your knee. You need a knee specialist. And the knee specialist goes, actually, it's your ankle. You're going to need an ankle specialist.
And the ankle specialist says, of course I can meet with you. Let's schedule a time 6 months out.
But I'm in pain now. Sorry, buddy.
A lot of demand for ankle specialists.
Have you tried Kaiser? That's a Madagascar joke.
There was also random moment when in book 3 the kids go on the boat ride. Aunt Claire is like, I'm staying behind, and Turon's gonna hang out with me. And like Turon very quickly chimes in by saying, I'm afraid of boats. That's why I'm staying with your Aunt Claire. And Alex like, don't explain yourself. And I'm like, oh boy, I wonder, me oh my, what could Aunt Claire and Turon be doing in the hours that they have?
Wait. Oh, no, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
That was it.
No, I was just going to say, speaking of like trying to date while there's like a bunch of children around that you're responsible for, we like alluded to this, but like in book 2, Mr. Penderwick like makes up a girlfriend.
Love it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I enjoyed going on a date with
Marianne.
Yeah.
Marianne Dashwood.
Yeah. And so I'm going to spend more time with her.
It's like when you have like your notes written on your hand and you're like slowly glancing down at your hand whenever you're forgetting. And he's like, yes, I went on a date with Marianne. We went on a walk to the beach.
Yeah, because basically like Aunt Claire, she's like, I know that you don't want to date, but why don't we make a deal? Like you're going to go on, I think it was like,
3?
I don't know, like 3 dates. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you're going to go on 3 dates. And then if you didn't like anyone, then we can give it up. I think he goes on 1 date and then he goes on a second with a fake woman.
He goes on one with
someone Aunt Claire sets him up with.
and then he goes on a second to the opera and it's bad.
Right. Because the second one, the Penderwick siblings set him up on that one. And they picked like the most annoying woman they could think of.
Yeah. They're just like the opposite of Martin Penderwick.
Yeah. And so then
He's like, never again.
Then he's like, I'm going on a 3rd date. And they're like, oh, wow. And then afterwards, he's like, I actually kind of liked her. I think I'm going to spend more time with her. And they're like, no. And then Batty, through a series of hijinks, ends up sneaking into his car.
Sneaks into his car, buckles herself into her car seat, goes, that's too conspicuous.
She throws a blanket over
on
herself.
herself. So
And she's like, he'll never know I'm here. Hound gets in the car with her.
She just throws a blanket on Hound.
Yeah. She's like, and my dad drove for a while, and then he stopped. And then he was like, okay, Batty, you can come out now. And she's like, what?
That was a nice moment.
He rolls down the window. I remember this, and she can smell pizza.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh boy, I sure am hungry. If only I had someone to help me eat this pineapple pizza.
And Batty's like, me! Me too, Batty. I also love pineapple
And then they go on
pizza.
like a nice father-daughter date, which is cute.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, actually, I was actually going to my office to read a book. which is just such a Martin Penderwick thing to do.
Wow.
I honestly, man, I feel you, Martin.
Yeah.
Go to the office to read a book. That sounds like mercy.
Sometimes you come into the office, Michael, I'm like, what you up to today? And you're like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. And I'm like, whoa.
Hey, sometimes.
Sometimes you just got to be.
Yeah. Libraries are good for that, too.
Yeah. Support your local library.
Mm-hmm.
Support them to get the 5th Penderwick book in their rotation.
Yeah. If everyone collectively requests the 5th Penderwick book in the library system, we'll get more in the circulation.
Or someone with more resources than us, donate a bunch of Penderwick books to all the libraries in America.
Mm.
It did really get to the point where I was considering just buying them
Mhm.
because I was like,
I bought
on.
the 5th book because I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. I just bought it.
My mom bought all 5 books.
Hey!
I was talking about, like, the 3rd book I've had on hold at the library for a few weeks now, and I have to read, like, 3 of these in the next, 3 days. And she was like, well, let's see if we can just get them online. I was like, and she was actually reading the sample, she said, and she was like, this actually sounds really good. I might want to read
these. Shout out to Michael's mom.
You've converted one person.
And as she was reading the author bio, she not only found out, as you said, Gino, that she was a photographer, but that she, didn't start writing in earnest, I guess, till she was, 40.
Wow.
Yeah. She talks about that a lot in some interviews about how she really, really, really wanted to be a writer growing up. And then just her 20s happened and then her 30s happened. And she just did other things. And she was she did other things well. She was an acclaimed photographer. And then one day she just sat down and was like, oh yeah, I wanted to write. Let me try that. And then she wrote the 5 most perfect books you've ever read in your entire life.
Wow.
So,
never too late.
Never too late to start. And then sometimes when you start late, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dang.
only start late if it's perfect. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So the bar,
A surefire method to do nothing.
it's never too late to start. The bar is still very high.
Yeah. Last question I was curious about. Now that we have read all 5 books and we've met the entire Penderwicks family, who's your favorite character? Just
Rank them in a tier
No.
list.
Just right off the top of your head.
Favorite character?
Yeah. You could do top 3 if you really can't think of one.
Oh, man. Top 3. Batty, Martin Penderwick, Wesley.
Mm.
I'm a Waddy. I'm a Waddy shipper. I was trying to combine Wesley and Batty, and it came out really bad.
Waddy. Batsley. Batsley sounds like an their first attempt at an Alfred for Batman.
Wait, we didn't even talk about the
get
fact
the
that
Batmobile.
Batty's mother is named Elizabeth,
Yeah.
like Beth in Little Women. She dies. But also Batty
Oh my gosh.
Batty's name is Elizabeth.
Yes.
But
they
she's
call her
called
Batty
Batty.
because they don't want her to. They don't want to be reminded of Elizabeth all the time.
Yeah.
Also, Batty's mom advocated for that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not just out of nowhere.
Thank goodness it was Batty and not Beth, or I would have been stressed all 5 of these
Every
books.
page you're like, no, is Batty okay?
Is the
And then
immortal
in
shining
book 4,
through?
And then in book 4, when Batty's having a bad time, you're like, oh, it's over. It's over.
We're cooked.
Any day now, any page, she's gone.
Oh, and she plays the piano. We're done.
She's looking forlornly out the window and knitting socks for the children. No, they're going to the beach.
Oh my gosh. My favorite characters are Batty, Jeffrey, and probably Sky. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like
I
Rosalind.
just have a soft spot for Sky.
Rosalind was certainly one of my favorites earlier in the series, and then is she like... Well,
Unless she
I don't know,
dated Oliver. No, I'm kidding.
She's pretty solid. She's pretty S tier, though I do like that she does have certain blind spots like that.
I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
Not me.
I'm covered in reflective tape. No blind spots on this bad boy.
You're like, I would never date a pretentious film bro.
Well, I just love that, she has to be so competent and so on top of things
Yeah.
with her sisters, but at the same time, it's deny her feelings for Tommy, deny her
Her
baggage with her
interpersonal
mother.
life is a
and-
mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Brings home the most, D tier guy. And has to be, told by her sisters, which is another excellent scene when they all try and interrogate Ben.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm a real military commander. I'm playing them against each other.
Yeah.
I love that the Penderwick sisters have a rule that they're not allowed to judge each other's boyfriends, though.
Also that they've each had so many boyfriends.
Yeah.
That like
It's actually kind of impressive how many boyfriends they've had.
wow.
Except for Sky. Sky's like had no boyfriends, just a
douche.
very toxic situation with Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Favorite characters. It is impossible for me to pick a favorite. It is really friggin' hard.
Top 3.
I can't do that.
Top 5.
We can't end the episode until you pick.
Top 7.
Top 5. Rosalind, Sky, Batty. In no particular order, by the way. Rosalind, Sky, Batty, Jane, of course. Well, I had to make sure.
Penderwick trying to pick a favorite between his kids.
In no particular order, all of them together. I cannot choose.
It's hard though.
Dexter Dupree.
Dexter Dupree.
And everyone's favorite, Dexter Dupree.
I like that French guy that Jane was friends with who was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
She kept trying to speak broken French to him and then accidentally professed her love to him when she meant to say, like, pass me the salt or something.
It's okay. She literally passed him off to another girl who spoke better French.
Yeah,
and he
it
was
was
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can talk to someone easy, then it helps. Okay, Rosalind, Sky, Jane, Batty, and Lydia.
Nice.
Screw Ben. No, I'm kidding.
I liked Ben, but also he turned into like a kind of older brother in the later books that I was like, okay, bud, take it easy.
He saw Oliver and was like, I can become a better version of you.
Yeah.
I'm you, but better. I'm you, but stronger.
I do like Ben, though. Oh, but Jeffrey. I forgot about Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey's really good.
Yeah.
And every book he gets better.
If you combine Jeffrey and another Penderwick, and then you like Asterix Ben, and then of course they're all like under the umbrella of Martin and Iantha, right? That's my top 5.
I do really like Iantha.
Me
We didn't
too.
talk about Iantha enough, but she's awesome.
You get a little moment of her when she's playing with baby Ben.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of speaking gibberish to him. And it's an extremely human moment that felt like it was lifted straight from like a home video.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
I just loved how, like, there were just moments of you seeing her, like, be exactly what the Penderwicks sisters needed. And it's just great.
I can't choose. I'll go to my grave loving all of them.
They're all good. The series is really great, and you should read it. Thanks for introducing us to the series.
Yeah.
This
thanks for
is
reading
definitely
it.
one I will reread through many parts of my life.
I'm sure its meaning for us will change as we grow older and experience life more.
Yeah.
And as the Hamilton reference grows more and more dated, our emotions about the Penderwicks will change.
If I ever have kids in the future, or if I'm in the position to like be doing any kind of like child care, child rearing, I would want to read these books.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening to our very hefty Penderwicks follow-up episode. If you want to hear more Nostalgia Club, hey, you should leave a comment and a rating on your podcast platform of choice because it really, really helps us out. You can also support us by listening to Ghost Inspectors.
Wow!
Written by Victoria Cheng, two detectives on any podcast platform. You can also message us on Instagram at Nostalgical Podcast. Email us at nostalgicalpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions.
Victoria sent Jino and I a specific wonderful email today from one such listener.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely delightful.
We love hearing from our listeners, especially a lot of people actually really wanted us to do another Penderwicks episode. So I
This
hope
is
you
for
guys
you.
are satisfied with what we have brought to you.
Yeah. We also are under MouseKnight Studios at MouseKnight Studios everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can find us on the internet.
Yeah. Donate to our Ko-fi if you are so obliged to
Yeah.
support the show. Help us perhaps buy more books anytime we can't find them.
Until next time, express your love by viciously beating up the object of your affection. That's true love, friends and foes. And that's what all the fanfic writers want you to believe. I'm calling you out right now. I'm sure this won't backfire. Hi, Penderwick subreddit. Please be nice to me.
The Penderwick subreddit specifically will find this episode.